What happens when the justice system, the one meant to protect you, turns its own tools into weapons? Well, that's the wild accusation at the heart of a legal document we're breaking down today. It's a formal request for a criminal investigation into a sitting judge and a prosecutor. And the allegation is that they cooked up this really sophisticated scheme to obstruct justice, not in some backroom deal, but using the very paperwork that's supposed to guarantee a fair trial.
And unbelievably, it might all come down to just 3 words, spoken by the judge himself on the record. According to this legal filing, this one little admission about a jury verdict form, that's the smoking gun that unravels a whole calculated plot. So, that's the big question we're going to explore. Based on what's in this document, was a messed up jury form just an honest mistake, something that got corrected later? Or was it a deliberately confusing trap, designed to get a conviction and then make sure it could never ever be appealed?
Okay, to really get the weight of that quote, "That's confusing," we need to get the full picture. And that picture comes from a tale of 2 cases that were shockingly similar, but were handled in 2 totally, dramatically different ways.
According to the filing, this whole story is about 2 people, Kelly Lynch and Robert Johnson. Now, their alleged crimes, they were almost identical. Both of them tried to buy a vehicle with a fake ID, and in both situations, the attempt failed. Neither one of them actually ever got the car or the motorcycle.
Right, so the heart of this whole accusation is the contrast between these 2 cases. The filing basically argues that the completely different ways they were handled, by the very same judge and prosecutor, is all the proof you need that this was a deliberate plan.
So here's how they break down the core claims. First, the verdict form in Lynch's case used this really confusing negative language, while the one they used later for Johnson was clear and simple. Second, the judge himself admitted the Lynch form was confusing right before he rewrote it for the Johnson case. And third, the final outcomes. Lynch got probation, but Johnson got 15 years in prison. The filing claims this huge difference wasn't about mercy, it was all part of the strategy.
I mean, just look at that gap. 15 years in prison versus 5 years of probation for what the filing calls pretty much the same actions. So what's the alleged strategy here? Well, if you give someone a lenient sentence like probation, they are way less likely to risk everything by filing an appeal. And the document claims that's exactly what the judge and prosecutor were counting on.
So, how does the document claim this was all orchestrated? It lays out what it describes as a very deliberate 3-step scheme to manipulate the justice system from the very beginning to the very end.
Let's walk through this alleged plan. Step 1. You create what lawyers call a reversible error. You get a conviction using a jury form that's so confusing and flawed that you know it would probably be overturned if it ever got appealed. Step 2. You prove you knew it was flawed. In a totally separate case, you admit out loud that the first form was confusing, and then you go ahead and fix it. And the final step? You give the first defendant, Lynch, that lenient sentence to make sure she never files the appeal that would expose the whole thing.
Now, these are some seriously heavy accusations, but the filing claims this isn't just guesswork. It argues that the proof is right there in plain sight in the court's own documents and official transcripts.
This is the exact wording from the Lynch verdict form. Just listen to that phrasing, did not use but possessed. The filing argues that asking a jury to vote on a negative like that is just asking for confusion. I mean, if they vote yes, what are they actually saying yes to? It's a logical nightmare. And this is the exact form the judge himself later admitted was confusing.
Okay, now compare that mess to the verdict form they used in the Johnson case. It's simple, it's clear. The jury just had to check a box. Guilty of fraudulent use. No negatives, no weird wording. The filing presents this as slam dunk proof. They knew exactly how to write a clear verdict form, they just allegedly chose not to in Lynch's case.
This timeline is what the entire filing really hangs on. On the morning of September 25th, the judge admits the Lynch form is a problem and fixes it for the Johnson case. Then, that very same afternoon, he turns around and sentences Kelly Lynch based on the verdict from the form he had just called confusing only hours before. The document argues this timing just obliterates any claim that this was an innocent mistake.
And the allegations actually go even deeper, right down to the nitty-gritty of the crimes classification. So, the jury specifically found Lynch did not use the ID. Under the law, that should make it a third-degree felony, an F3. But the final judgment, it's alleged, listed it as a first-degree felony, the most serious level you can get, which completely contradicts what the jury decided.
The filing alleges there was one final step to make absolutely sure an appeal never happened, a physical barrier.
As part of her probation, Lynch was sent to a residential facility where her communication with the outside world was severely restricted. This wasn't just a coincidence. It happened during the critical 30-day window she had to file an appeal. The claim is that this physically stopped her from ever being able to contact a lawyer.
So, why? Why would a judge and a prosecutor allegedly go through all these crazy hoops? Well, according to the filing, the real motive had nothing to do with the Lynch case itself. It was about making sure a whole different set of secrets never saw the light of day.
So here it is, the alleged motive. It was never really about Kelly Lynch. The filing claims the entire scheme, from the confusing form all the way to the lenient sentence, was a cover-up. See, an appeal would have cracked open her case file for a higher court to review, and that review, it's alleged, would have exposed a pattern of prior misconduct by that same judge and prosecutor.
Based on all these allegations, the filing lists a whole bunch of serious federal crimes: obstruction of justice, witness tampering, deprivation of rights. What it's really saying is that public officials, people sworn to uphold the law, use their immense power to break it. We're not talking about minor paperwork mistakes here. These claims strike right at the heart of our justice system's integrity.
Ultimately, the argument in this document is that the evidence for this whole scheme isn't hidden in some secret vault. It's documented right there in official court records, transcripts, and verdict forms, and it raises this really profound question. What happens when the very tools of justice are allegedly used as instruments of a crime, and who, then, judges the judges?